Sequel number 27. Welcome. The Church of Uganda at 150. A celebration of our church history. These days, it is not a very good history. There is a lot of bloodletting. But what to do? It was part of our history. It was part of our church history. Our very faithful were being used to fight for power. And the missionaries decided to call them religious wars. I refuse to agree with them. Christians were used to fight civil wars for power. And I insist that's what it was. So today in this sequel 27, we are going to look at the aftermath. What happened thereafter, after Rubaga Mission was bombed? What happened brings tears, but it's part of our history. Therefore, we must know. However much the missionaries tried to bury it under the carpet in their books. So today, let us find out what happened next. Christopher Amos Chikomeko Ntambi, the producer of these sequels. The everlasting hatred of Buganda's Roman Catholic Christians against the Anglican Christians was born on the 24th of January 1892. That is the day Rubaga Mission was bombed. That hatred had been planted earlier by both the fallen Alexander Mackay and Father Simeon Ludel, called him Mapera. But it was like never before on that day. Starting with the fallen pioneer missionaries mentioned above, they began with hostility between each other's faith doctrine before Mutesa I on arrival in February 1879, between Simeon Ludel and Mackay. They then began to teach hatred of the faiths to their own Christian pages. Father Ludel changed all the Kiswahili words he found on the ground. For example, from Yesu to Yesu. As a matter of fact, it was Isa. From Isa to Yesu. From Mukama to Omukama. From Kanisa to the Greek Ecclesia. And abandoned all the worldwide liturgical German tune hymns in favor of local composed songs with drumming and ululations. During Mwanga's massacre of the Page Boys in 1886, the martyrdom, for refusing to denounce Christianity, despite burning the victims together, the Anglican Christians only recognized their own as martyrs, and so did the Roman Catholic Christians, recognizing theirs as martyrs. As far as each group were concerned, the other victims did not matter. Then came the digging and excavating of the man-made lake at Inkau. The shifts were made for workers based on whether they were Anglican Christians or Roman Catholic Christians or Muslims or sorcerers. Then came the civil wars between 1888 all the way now to 1892. And again, the armies were based on their faith, only that the Muslims lost and were exiled towards Bunyoro. So I must say that the missionaries then justify calling them religious wars because of the division by faith of the armies, which I refuse. They were not religious. They were civil. They were for political power. That situation remained the same. Marriages across the other became forbidden. And therefore the generation of hatred was passed on from generation to generation in Buganda, and it continues to date amongst a certain generation. If there are any exceptions to the rule, the percentage is dismal. Brethren, In April 1892, Mwanga returned to Buganda and surrendered to Captain Lugard at Fort Lugard with the Bururi ex-county chief Kangao Stanlas Mugwanya. He had survived the war. Both were forgiven. Mwanga II was allowed back on the Buganda throne, but he would almost be a ceremonial Kabaka, as all powers was to be vested with Captain Lugard. He was the Kabaka, but had to seek permission to order for anything he wanted. Captain Lugard on learning that Stanlas Mugwanya was the de facto commander of the Roman Catholic military faction army, surprised Apollo Kagwa by appointing him a joint catikiro to take care of his people's interests. In the beginning, Apollo Kagwa thought Captain Lugard was joking, but came to learn that he meant every word of it. Before Mwanga II and Mugwanya left Fort Lugard, they hugged Apollo Kagwa and agreed to bury their differences. Mwanga II and Mugwanya were told by Captain Lugard that he would disband both the Roman Catholic military faction and the Anglican Christian military faction. In their place, Captain Lugard told them that he had formed the native Uganda Rifle Army. It had only one commander, and that was himself, because even Apollo Kagwa would not be allowed to have any say to them. Lugard emphasized that only tall and strong Baganda men would be recruited or qualified to enter into that force. Because of that, he told the 3 men that he would get more Nubians from their camp in Toro Kingdom. Secondly, Captain Lugard also decided to settle the defeated remnants of the Roman Catholic Christian military faction and the Muslim military faction, to settle them in order to eliminate their confrontation with victorious Anglican military faction army, which was likely to crop up between them. He decided to allocate specific counties to them. He ordered all the remnants of the defeated Roman Catholic military faction and their families to migrate and settle in Budu County as their home, with effect from the 7th of April 1892. He allocated Butambala County to the Muslim army remnants, including all those who returned from Munyoro to migrate and settle there with effect from 2nd May 1892. That way, the Muslim faithful would provide a buffer zone between the Roman Catholic Christians in Budu and the Protestant Christians in the rest of the counties of Buganda. With those major and monumental changes, Captain Lugard sent off his visitors. Mwanga left, Mugwanya left, Apollo Kagwa left. Who is the major beneficiary again? It appears Roman Catholic. As much as they've been sent away to Budu, one of their own is now a co-Katikiro. Apollo Kagwa asked Stanlas Mugwanya to use the Butikiro offices in the exercise of his duties as co-Katikiro, because for the first time the kingdom had got 2 Katikiros to serve at the same time to satisfy different interests in the society. Since Katikiro Kisoro of the first Kabaka Chintu, there had been around 47 of them, including Nyonyintono, Muguruma, and Sempagama. So, as much as Apollo Kagwa was the 48th, it appeared that his slot had to have another name, Stanlas Mugwanya. The only question, however, that would be asked by generations to come is, who then was entitled to be given the traditional mess of power? Damula. Meanwhile, the worried Waswa Munubi was that Muslim army deserter soldier who went to Kabula And then, of course, during the Civil War, also warned Apollo Kagwa about the impending military coup by the Muslim soldiers. So that Waswa Munubi is still around. He is not yet dead. He had saved Apollo Kagwa twice with timely intelligence. So now Apollo Kagwa trusted him very well. So he went to the Kokatikiro Apollo Kagwa for a favor. He wanted to join the new native Uganda Rifles Army and wanted to be seconded. Indeed, Apollo Kagwa introduced Waswa Munubi to Captain Logan for recruitment. But unfortunately, he failed the entry requirements. Waswa Munubi was not tall like the Nubians, although he was strong in his body. Captain Lugard, in appreciation for Waswa Munubi saving his life, because remember there was a plan to kill both Lugard and Apollo Kagwa during that trial, the trial of which the Civil War broke out. Yeah, so this Waswa Munubi was very key and very crucial. So Lugard wanted to appreciate him for saving their lives in January 1892. He donated to him a scarlet military jacket. My goodness, this was a preserve for the whites. Now there is a black person who is going to put on a scarlet military jacket. It was so unique that Waswa Munubi wore it all the time, and his fellow ex-soldiers within the military faction of the Muslims nicknamed him Kizibao Chevlaya. You can call it jacket from Europe. Apollo Kagwa, concerned that he had never returned any favors to Waswa Munubi, called him over to the Butikiro house to find out more about him. What did he find? That Waswa was older than him. Yeah, this Waswa Munubi was much, much older than Apollo Kagwa by 1 year. And that he had been born, of course, to Muslim parents, Salongo Kisauzi, Nemama Singabadda. His sibling twin, a girl, had died after birth, but he had 3 living sisters. Now, his parents had encouraged him to join the Muslim army faction before they converted to Christianity, and his father became, because now the parents switched over to Christianity. So Munubi's father became Samuel, while Munubi's mother became Tezera. Because of the conversion of his parents, he also wished to join Christianity. And that was why he had defected in the first place. But unfortunately, Apollo Kagwa had put him under house arrest at Kabula, and on return after the war, he had been told to sit aside, as his fate was addressed. It was from that side sitting that he had got wind of the coup plot in January 1892, which enabled Apollo Kagwa and Captain Lugard to escape their planned assassination. Now, Waswa Munubi did not want to resettle in Butambala as a Muslim because he did not consider himself a Muslim anymore. So Apollo Kagwa asked Waswa Munubi to become part of his guards because Captain Lugard was about to be replaced by a new Imperial British Company leader who might accept him in the native Uganda Rifles Army. He, however, gave him a note introducing him to Reverend Herbert Walker at the Namirembe Mission, or call it Bukesa Mission, to commence learning baptismal instructions, catechism, which will take him some good number of years. Now that worked, and Waswa Munubi was so happy to begin learning Christianity, or call it catechism, which included writing, learning how to write, and also the numerals. Now, in June 1892, another native, Mika Sematimba of Buganda, he was the roving ambassador of Buganda to the Arabs. He had also become a sub-chief of Makamba in Udo, was surprised by an invitation to visit Britain by his friend, the missionary Reverend Herbert Walker. Mika Sematimba got permission from the Kokatikiros and the Kabaka, and they set off in June 1892. He was to become the 4th Buganda native to visit Great Britain since 1880. When they returned home in December 1893, he had changed his mannerism to those of an Englishman. He put on 3-piece Edwin suits, complete with a handheld wristwatch and drill by heart. He carried his personal chair to local natives' meetings, just like the missionaries behaved. Anyway, tomorrow we shall see what happened next in sequel 28. For today, may the good Lord bless us all.